The United Nations Climate Report is painting a very dire picture, with nearly 300 scientists concluding that over the next 2 decades, billions of people will face what the report calls unavoidable risks. The scientists say the world is now stuck with dangerous, deadly heat, fires, floods, and drought. They say the new norm is making people sicker, hungrier, and poorer. Their bottom line: scientific evidence shows climate change is an essential threat to human survival and potentially irreversible. Now, that report is out one day after this U.S. Supreme Court started hearing arguments in what could be the biggest climate change case yet, and it could significantly alter Texas's oil and gas industry. Here now to explain this case and what's at stake is South Texas College of Law professor Josh Blackman. Good morning, and thank you so very much for joining us.
Good morning.
Can you explain first off this case, because a lot of folks don't understand it at all and don't know what it's all about?
The case is a bit complicated. Power plants emit something called carbon, and carbon's been shown to contribute to climate change. Historically, the federal government has regulated pollutants like carbon dioxide and sulfur and other things by putting various filters and devices on power plants. But the Obama administration, and more recently the Biden administration, has tried something different. They're trying to put limitations industry-wide on carbon without regard to particular power plants. The Supreme Court is now considering whether the agency has the power to regulate carbon across the entire power industry.
So what exactly happened Monday, though?
So the Supreme Court yesterday heard arguments about the Biden administration's attempt to regulate these broad authorities. And the questions focus on a fairly technical question, but an important one. Has Congress given the Biden administration the power to regulate carbon? The Clean Air Act was last amended almost 35 years ago in the early 1990s. And it's not clear in the 1990s if Congress gave the specific power to the agencies. If Congress did not give this power, then the government will be limited in how much restrictions they can put on power industries in the United States and in Texas.
So what is going to happen next, in your opinion? When could we have a ruling on this particular case, since it is so complicated?
We'll get a ruling in June, and even then it may take even longer for it to go into effect. So we don't see any changes right away. But my reading the tea leaves, which is not worth much, is that the executive branch will probably lose this one, and that the government will have to try something else to regulate carbon, not what they're trying to do here.
Well, your tea leaves are working pretty good. Now, why could this have such a significant impact on our state?
Well, Texas has a lot of energy producers. We emit a lot of carbon. If this policy went into effect, they'd have to restrict how much carbon's emitted, and it may affect how much energy that Texas companies can produce.
Do you think this may end up with some of the energy producers being put out of business, though?
I'm not sure, and I think a lot of the producers are voluntarily reducing their carbon. But I think the Biden policy would go even further than that. So there would definitely be economic impacts if this goes into effect.
Professor Josh Blackman, South Texas College of Law, thank you so very much for providing your insight into this issue that is very complicated for us as well.
Thank you.